What's up, Wise Take? Welcome to the Wise Take DFS NFL podcast preview show of the AFC North. I'm here with my man, Paulie D. You can follow me on Twitter at PatioJoeRef, and you can follow Paulie D on Twitter at Paulie8 with 8 Ds. Say what's up, Paulie.
What's going on?
Not much. I thought we'd do another one of our 2 of 8 specials going through the divisions going into the season. CK's down in Jamaica, so I thought I'd take the reins and we can talk a little bit about the AFC North. It's an interesting division. Obviously, fantasy-wise, as a broad strip, you got like 3 or 4 guys that are in the top 10 that you would draft in a standard or a PPR league. So it's definitely a fantasy relevant division, and there's also some good sleepers that you can't forget about. And over the next 30 minutes or so, we are going to try and find those guys for you. So, Paulie, before we start, tell me what do you think about this division?
One of my favorite divisions. I think all 4 of these teams are going to be relevant. Obviously, the Browns the least, but I think they're definitely on the rise. I think they're, one of the more drastically improving teams. Solid offensive line and defense, like the core of any good team. But, it's really the Bengals, Ravens, and Pittsburgh, perennial playoff teams. A lot of veterans on all 3 of them, a lot of star players, and a lot of fantasy goodness from all of them. So, this is, division you definitely want to be on top of your game on, because they can definitely impact some scoring.
Yeah, I'm looking at this division, and I think we can start going right now on the way we think they're going to finish. Personally, I'll just go. I think it's going to go the Steelers. I think it's going to the Bengals, and then a little bit of a controversial thing. I think the Browns are going to finish in 3rd, and the Ravens are going to finish in 4th. I'm looking at the Ravens. They are just so injured right now. Everybody's injured. Flacco's hasn't even practiced. Their best running back can't be a number 1 running back for that long. He's going to get hurt. And that's my problem with the Ravens. Their receivers aren't very good. Their defense is not what it used to be. And I see the Browns, and I see if they can find anybody at quarterback to do anything. They have a decent running back. They have a really, really underrated good O-line that's rated in the top 5 or 10 in the league. And their receivers aren't bad. They just picked up Kenny Britt, and I just think that they're a better team right now than the Ravens.
Yeah, especially if one of those quarterbacks emerges and does a decent job, then they can kind of play like the Trent Dilfer game manager role, do a lot of running, and, rely on your defense. But as long as, you're not throwing a ton of interceptions and doing turnovers, you can win some ball games. So I got the exact same order. I think Pittsburgh and Cincy are going to fight it out for the top. I could see Cincy winning it too. Like, I'm just barely taking Pittsburgh just because I think they're a little bit more athletic. Probably one of these teams will be, like a 1st or 2nd in the entire conference with a bye, and then the other team will be a wild card. So those teams will be in the playoffs. Like, I think one will be like 11-5, 6, and I agree. I think Cleveland's in 10. They always going to be a huge disappointment at 4-12.
Yeah. If you could maybe check your connection, you're really, really choppy right now.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let me go to the Wi-Fi. Let's see that.
Yeah, that's probably better if you stay on the Wi-Fi. I look at it as if Ben stays healthy all 16 games, they win the division easily. The only way that they don't win this division is if Ben is hurt like he normally is.
He seems to always get hurt. But we'll get when we get to Pittsburgh. I've got some probably contrarian takes on that team. But who's the backup quarterback over there? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Is the season over if he gets hurt?
Isn't it Landry Jones?
It might. Yeah. It probably is Landry Jones.
Landry
I'll pull it
Jones.
up in a second. Yeah, let's go. Let's actually jump into Pittsburgh first.
Yeah,
so,
Pittsburgh. I mean, we have them finishing first.
Wise.
Let's go with Pittsburgh. Obviously, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Fantasy wise, okay. Here's the way I look at it. Fantasy wise, DFS, you start him when he's at home. And I guess if you really want to be contrarian, you start him when he's on the road. And then seasonal, the only way I'm drafting him is if I'm drafting him later in the draft and I'm doubling him up maybe 2 rounds in a row. I pick Roethlisberger and then like Stafford right after him, so I can basically stream that quarterback. What do you have?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think you can get Roethlisberger fairly late.
You can.
And, especially if you get Antonio Brown or Martavis, it's not a bad stack. You know what I mean? But, yeah, definitely not a guy I'm going to reach for, anywhere early. In auction drafts, I wouldn't pay more than like $5 for him. Mm-hmm. So, but definitely at home, it's against good teams, where you're expecting like a shootout. Like they get a game against like a New England or even against Cincinnati, or some of the NFC teams like a Giants or Green Bay. Like they can hang with them offensively, and that's when you'll get great games from Roethlisberger. And then moving over to receiver, it's where it gets interesting. Like I'm big on Martavis Bryant. I think that kid is freakishly talented, and personally, I think it's going to take away from Antonio Brown this year. Like I'm not taking Antonio Brown in the top 5 of my drafts. I just think he's going to have a down year. I just think there's no way that he's the top receiver in football for a 3rd year in a row. And, I'm taking other guys that I think are going to be more valuable. But Martavis is a guy that I'm reaching for probably a little bit early, expecting big things from, because, when they open it up, when they go out of the shotgun, and just, you have to focus on Le'Veon Bell and shutting him down, that you can't really – you have to stack the box. And I think it just opens up a ton of passing opportunities. So I really love Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, when I look at them, I mean, for Ben, his playoff schedule, because people say don't look at the playoff schedule. I do. I'm sorry. I think you can. I take it into consideration. He's got 2 games at home. One is against Baltimore, and one is against New England, and then he's at Houston. I don't know if I even really want to play with that or not. I mean, you got a divisional game that usually those are like 18 to 15, no matter what when they're playing Baltimore, and then New England could be a shootout. We all know New England could play any type of game that you want to play. That's the thing. And then when they go down to Houston, week 16 for the championship, to me, I feel like Roethlisberger is a guy that it's a good first spot starter if he was on the waiver wire. And you need bye weeks. I'm all for it because he'll go through that period where he'll have like 3 or 4 good weeks and everybody will jump on him, especially DFS wise.
Yeah, he'll have like he'll have those monster games, like 5 touchdown games.
So,
and
I agree. Receiving wise, I'm a little bit higher on Antonio Brown than you are. I still think that they just do things to just get him the ball. And it could help. It could help him more. His targets might be down, but it might be more quality because Martavis Bryant takes away from him. The other guys, Marquise Lee, I think not Marquise Lee. Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a rookie. I think he might have gotten hurt, but if not, he's a good 3rd option. Running back wise, though, we got to tell everybody if you're going to get Le'Veon Bell. First of all, he's the number 2 guy on my board. Is he number 2 on yours? Behind David Johnson?
No, he's number 1 on mine.
So you like him more than David Johnson?
Number 1 on mine.
Okay. So I think it's pretty much.
I love him.
I think you're splitting hairs. Whoever you like, you can't go wrong. You got to back him up with James Conner. Though.
Very, very close.
My point is.
Yep. I completely agree. There's been some talk of what's his name? Deshaun. Who was the backup last year? D'Angelo Williams, re-signing. But, that'll come down to how good James Conner shows in the preseason. But if they don't, then absolutely handcuff with James Conner. And, I just think this team's going to try and keep Roethlisberger healthy and just pound the ball to Le'Veon, especially when they have, more than 10-point leads. It's going to be all Le'Veon. And, he's just going to accumulate yards and touchdowns in this offense like never before. I'm huge on Le'Veon this year. I think he's going to have a monster year. And I love his running style and think that more and more guys are going to adopt the style that Le'Veon does, where he doesn't just explode into a hole, but he, waits to let the blocks develop in the backfield, and then he bursts out. And it's, obviously been working, and no one else does it that way. So I think you're going to start to see guys try and copycat that. And, I think that he's going to have a massive season this year.
Yeah. And then as for tight end, outlaw Jesse James, he's a very basic, I would think, a bye-week fill-in. Maybe DFS-wise, he's definitely one of those guys that'll be like 4K, that if you want in a stack and you're stacking the game, then I'm all for it. But if not, he doesn't really have that much upside. He'll get like 2 catches with a touchdown and 15 yards. So
like if you're playing him, he's got to get that touchdown. I don't ever see him getting more than like 5 receptions. I'm surprised they dropped the guy from San Diego that they had. I guess he was just too injury prone. But
Darius Green, too many.
Darius Green, this guy, they need a tight end. Big Ben, he used to love throwing to Heath Miller, and it's like the perfect escape valve for him. And I'd love to see Pittsburgh go out and grab a tight end, but until they do, Jesse James is more of a blocking guy for me, and only in the most desperate of situations would I roster him.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the Bengals. Bengals at quarterback, Andy Dalton. He is serviceable. I think if you were to wait a long time and everybody were to snake you, he is a guy that you can start and be okay. I don't think he's going to win you any weeks himself, but he's not going to lose you any weeks. As running back,
would you take Dalton, or would you go Dalton or Roethlisberger?
Dalton.
Would you take first?
Dalton. I would take Dalton.
Dalton. Yeah, me too.
I would take Dalton. Running back, the big thing is Joe Mixon. He's going in the 3rd round. He's still the 3rd guy on the depth chart. Everybody's projecting him to be first, but I think if you're drafting tomorrow and you're drafting this weekend, guys, Jeremy Hill is still going to be the running back in the beginning of the year, and getting out to a good start is a really, really important. It's good to go 2-3-1 or 4-0, and if you can handcuff him, you can get Jeremy Hill in like the 14th round, and he gives great value. He's gonna get the goal line work, at least in the beginning. And the guy, the odd man
probably
out
for the whole year.
Yeah, I think that he's still gonna be viable. Gio Bernard's the odd man out, and by the end of the year, Joe Mixon is probably going to be getting the lion's share of the carries. But when they get down there, it's going to be Jeremy Hill. So I would say, Mixon probably is going to be more of a DraftKings player, while Jeremy Hill is going to be more of a FanDuel player. That's going to be more touchdown dependent. But what's your thoughts on the running situation?
Yeah, I agree. In season longs, I'm not reaching for Mixon. He has been impressive, but I just hate the committee situations. And I think, like you said, I don't see him getting all the carries at the beginning of the year. It looks like Gio is going to be hurt. The first 2 games are out, so it's going to be Mixon and Hill. And I think Hill will probably start as a starter, and until he gives the job up to Mixon, it'll be his. And maybe he's, does great, and Mixon doesn't, emerge as the starter at all this year or until a lot later. So I think it's too risky to draft Mixon high. But if he's sitting there 4th or 5th round, early 5th, I'd take him there. If you already have 2 running backs and he's a 3rd, or if he's your 2nd, you have good receivers. But he's not a guy I'm reaching for. And, for DFS, you got Mixon at 6,400. I don't see myself going there week 1 against the Ravens, but I could see myself getting Hill, who's 5,500, and hope that he gets 2 goal line touchdowns, which is definitely possible in a game like that. I could see it being 24 or 28 kind of score.
Yeah.
So Jeremy Hill is definitely interesting, as everyone's kind of writing him off early, and he's still a good back, and he's still a good goal line guy to have. So
now let's move to receiver position. What's your thoughts on the receiver position? Because I think I'm really, really high on A.J. Green this year. I love A.J. Green. I like him more than Mike Evans.
Me too.
He's probably...
I'm crazy high on A.J. Green.
You like him more than
probably... but like I'm not getting Brown because if I'm in the top 4, I'm taking either a running back or Julio, and then if I'm like then he's gone by 6, and I'm grabbing Green at 6. If Green's there at 6, that's what I'm taking.
Yeah, I agree. I love AJ Green. I like him more than Mike Evans. I like him more than Shady McCoy. I like him at Brown. Anybody more on there? The other receivers really do not like tempt me at all.
No, there's no one here, and that's why like. There's no one to take away the targets for AJ Green, and I just see them, being either, winning games by 10, 15, and he just does his normal thing, or in, close games, he's going to be a beast, and then in terms of the receiving game, it's not a receiver, but Tyler Eifert's high on my list. If this guy stays healthy, he can score 15 touchdowns this year. He's been a beast in the red zone when he's played. He was great in college, and, just like AJ Green, there's not many other receivers that I'm really interested in or think will get targets. I think it's going to be a Tyler Eifert, AJ Green show for Andy Dalton all year long.
Yeah, I am. I'm all about that, and I think that Eifert. The thing for him is that he's just got to stay healthy, and
for sure.
And he last year he was just a bust. He came back at the end of the year, but I had him 2 years ago, and he scored a touchdown almost every game. It seemed like.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
if you get a game with like Cincinnati against maybe Pittsburgh, where like the over/under is like over 50, you could do like a Dalton, Green, Eifert stack, and it could, if he hits them both twice, it could definitely pay off.
Sorry, I'm just answering a text.
Yeah, no problem. But that's really about it for this team. It's like those 3 guys, and that's why I like them so much, because you know where the targets are going to go. You know where the touchdowns are going to go.
Yeah.
So those are my guys, and I agree with you on the Dalton over Roethlisberger, because I just see him having, between Eifert and AJ Green, I think there's about 30 touchdowns just right there.
Yeah, AJ Green is somebody in this thing. Let's see here. Their strength of schedule. I'm looking at their strength of schedule is somewhat in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
They're towards the front. Actually, they got some good matchups. In the playoffs, they got some really, really good matchups. Except for they got they're at Minnesota. The first matchup is Chicago, then they're at Minnesota, then they're home against Chicago, at Minnesota, home against Detroit. So they got 2 weak secondaries and 1 tough one.
Wow.
So it's not a bad option. And they start out pretty good too. So anyways, yeah, I like the Bengals. Let's move on to the Browns. I think that they're a very interesting team. Quarterback-wise, obviously, we're not going to even spend any time on them at quarterback, because they're just there's.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think they're going to start.
Just give me that. Guess who's going to be starting?
I think it should be Kessler, but that's just my opinion.
You think it should be Kessler?
Yes, and you're really, I can hear you fine, but you're really choppy. Like your screen is really bad. I don't know why, but
that sucks. I don't know why either.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Anyways, or go change it, turn your camera off and turn it back on and see what happens. Because you're getting really pixelated.
All right.
Yeah. So we got Paulie D on video on audio at least.
How's that? Any better?
Yeah, that's better. The Cleveland Browns have the number 7 ranked offensive line, according to rosterwatch.com. So, to me, that makes Isaiah Crowell a really, really good pick. I think that people are sleeping on him. He's not flashy, but you know what? He's going to get the job done. And if you like your receivers like I do, Crowell is a guy that is going to be very productive. You can back him up with Duke Johnson, but Duke Johnson has his own role. And I've heard that they're going to put him as the slot receiver this year, as well as get him some carries. So Duke Johnson could be somebody that could really break out. You get him in the 8th or 9th round. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, Duke Johnson's out of Miami. He was a beast in college, and it's weird because I'm so high on Isaiah Crowell and plan on grabbing him in most drafts that I don't want Duke to steal any of his role. But this kind of reminds me of like the Atlanta backfield, where both guys could score, have different kind of roles, and like week to week, one of them may steal the spotlight. So it's tough. Like I want to be high on Crowell, and I'm probably grabbing him higher than most, but it does worry me a little bit that Duke may steal some of the touchdowns this year.
Well, the thing is that if you can get Duke Johnson, though, he's a good also handcuff if Crowell does go down. So you could,
definitely,
at one point, he could turn into a handcuff. Moving on to receiver, I see Kenny Britt. I don't see anybody else. Corey Coleman is not healthy. He hasn't proved it yet.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know where he's going in drafts, but if he's there late, or like auction draft for $1 or $2, I think he's worth a shot. Like we saw him have a 2-touchdown game in his first game ever last year. People have compared him to Odell Beckham. And if like Deshaun Kaiser emerges as the quarterback mid-year, that guy's got an arm. So like off Coleman, he's a talent. He was drafted first round. I think he's worth stashing at least. And yeah, I agree with Kenny Britt. Like I think he's the only guy that's going to get receptions. As a wide receiver 3 on season longs, he's fine. I'll use too much on FanDuel or DraftKings.
And then tight end, it's Gary Barnidge, and that's about it.
No. They dropped him.
They cut
him. Gary Barnidge.
Okay. Who's the
tight end? Yeah. They cut Gary Barnidge.
I thought it was Gary Barnidge.
So they cut him first day of training camp.
Oh.
So they got the rookie that they drafted in the first round, David Njoku, who's looked really good. And then, I don't know if he's going to start week 1, but he's going to be starting very, very soon. And he's a guy you should be stashing because he's going very late. But, it's like Randall Telfair or Seth DeValve. Neither of these guys are fantasy relevant. So I think David Njoku is definitely, a late round draft and could emerge as, a monster tight end. I mean, I know it's very rare for a rookie tight end to do very well, but this might be, an exception because they don't really have great receiver targets, as you said. They're going to be losing, so they're going to be passing, So I'm very interested in Njoku.
Yeah. I'm looking at It's
like 2 weeks from now, after 2 more preseason games, he may be a guy that really rockets up his ADP.
All right, good. Yeah, so that's pretty much on the Browns. Like I think that we covered them. We like Crowell. I think that for me, he's third round. In the second round, if there's just going to be better receiving options I'm going to want there, and I'm going to want him in the third round. If I can get him in the third round, I'd be happy as my running back 1.
Yep. In non-PPR leagues, he'd go higher, but in PPR leagues, yeah, I agree. Like early third if it's 14 teams or less, and late second in like a 16 team.
And just breaking news, we just found out on Twitter that Le'Veon Bell said that he will report on September 1st, so that's a week from Friday. So if you're drafting, I think that you can be safe that Le'Veon Bell will be playing the first game of the season. So lock him in. Let's move on to the last team, and I think it's probably the team with the least amount of fantasy goodness on it. The Baltimore Ravens. Quarterback Joe Flacco is nothing more than a quarterback to fill in. If it's a 2-quarterback league, I can buy him as a second quarterback. And if fill in maybe a DFS start if the matchup is right against the right secondary, I'm for it. If not, though, I'm off of Flacco. He's a better real-life quarterback than he is a fantasy quarterback. Yeah. Yeah,
I agree. Maybe, there'll be the 1 week where they play, like a team like the Titans or something where it's going to be a shootout and they'll probably be trailing. Like, you can grab him with Macklin if you see them having a good relationship, or maybe even like a guy like Mike Wallace who's like a home run hitter. But yeah, like in season longs, I'm going nowhere near Flacco, and very, very rare that I'll probably play him in DFS.
Yeah. And we go to the running back position, and I think that's where like we just don't really know where they're going to go. Everybody thinks PPR, Danny Woodhead, that's the way to go, and he's going to get some goal line carries. He's going to be actually tossed. He's going to be getting some catches. I like him, but he's not the number one back. What I've been hearing right now, the number one back who's been playing best has been Buck Allen or Javarius Allen, and Terrence West is also the other two. Like I'm not like both of these guys. I'm not into the thing about what makes them interesting though is that they have the easiest schedule, running back schedule over the whole season. Is the Baltimore or no? They have the top 3 easiest schedule. So it's like if you can find the running back that they're going to use, I think maybe you can get you'll be able to get some like in. Obviously, Woodhead is more valuable in DraftKings than he is FanDuel, but he still can get you some good points on FanDuel. He's proven it.
Yep. And, like with no tight end, they got rid of, what's his name? Like, Pitta. I just feel like, Pitta. Yeah, they got rid of Pitta, and Flacco loved throwing a Pitta. I could see Woodhead becoming like his short distance, receiver almost, like out of the slot or out of the backfield, becoming like his escape valve this year and getting, like 7, 8 targets with like 5 carries, and he's shifty. He can find the end zone. He's definitely an interesting player, more for season long I think than like FanDuel, but he's especially in PPR leagues he's definitely worth a late round flyer on.
Yeah, I'm for it. And then
because he could emerge as the lead back too. Like say there's an injury and then there may be some games where he's going to get 20 carries.
Yeah, I'm PPR leagues. He's going to be drafted in the first 10 rounds for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Moving on to the receiver position, there's really nobody that season long wise. If you want to go with Mike Wallace in a not in a standard league, I'm cool with that. Macklin, he's never been any good. I don't know why all of a sudden he'd be good. So I'm really not on it. The guy, maybe Brashad Perryman, if he's gonna, maybe he'll show up one of these days. Besides that, there's nobody. I mean, it just can't.
Yeah, I'm a little higher on Macklin as like a wide receiver 3, just because he's the only guy. And Flacco does have a good arm, and he's just kind of going to Kansas City was like the worst thing that could have happened for him. But he did have some decent seasons earlier before going to Kansas City, and being the only guy, and we're assuming they're going to be losing, like he could get a lot of, at least, targets. And, I'm expecting him to get some touchdowns. I don't think we could just write him off right away. Anyone that's a number one, on a team that we expect to be losing, so trying to make comebacks, I think you have to consider first season long.
I mean, is he really, though, a number 1, or is he a 1A to Mike Wallace? I mean, I think they're pretty much the same to me.
I think he's definitely, like, Mike Wallace to me is only a deep threat. Like, he's never catching short routes. He's never going over the middle. He's just the guy that you launch, the fade route to and stretch the field with. Macklin's going to do all the inside dirty work, slants, out routes, 10-yard outs to the sticks, that kind of stuff. We'll see. This next weekend is key. This is when you're going to get the best look at the starters. They'll probably play a half, and we'll see how they work together. But it's definitely a guy you shouldn't write off just yet, dude. Like, he could be sneaky valuable this year.
One other guy I'm gonna ask you about, and this is, we're pretty much done with the Ravens, and we know it. One other guy I'm gonna ask you about, John Ross. What's your thing on John Ross? Receiver
on Cincy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's interesting. I think he's a little hurt right now, right? Or I might be mistaking him with
a precaution.
But yeah, I think they have high expectations for him. If he emerges as the number 2, then he would be interesting to me, because these teams like to pass, and I see teams like doubling AJ Green, and then a guy who's number 2 will definitely benefit from that. So if he becomes the wide receiver 2 for sure, then he'd be a guy that'd be very interesting to me. But if it's like LaFell or Tyler Boyd, and he's not the guy, then he becomes like irrelevant to me.
Alrighty. So that's that. What we're gonna do here now, guys, is we're gonna draft our basically our fantasy four for this division. And what the rules is we're gonna draft one guy per team for each position: a quarterback, a receiver, a running back, and a tight end. You can only use one per team. So, Paulie, you can pick first. You pick anybody you want.
Is it snake? Like I go once, you go twice?
Yeah, that's
or
fine.
Just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, you go once.
All right. So my first pick, would be Le'Veon Bell.
All right, so Le'Veon Bell. So now, like, the thing is that he can't pick any more Steelers at all. So,
yeah.
My pick is going to be AJ Green at receiver.
Mm-hmm. Then you got another one, right?
And then, let's see, Crowell at running back.
All right, so you got Crowell and AJ Green. Interesting. I'm gonna get. Wow, this is kind of tricky, you know.
That's right. That's what I mean. I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like this. Yeah. I can't wait to do the rest of these. But I am gonna go and get. This is so hard. I am going to be forced to go with Macklin.
As your receiver, okay.
Yeah, good luck with taking a Raven.
Yeah, I know.
And then on the comeback here, I'll grab me some Tyler Eifert.
Tyler Eifert. Okay, so my quarterback is going to be Ben Roethlisberger. And my tight end will be Ben Watson.
Ben Watson. Nice.
It's my only option, you know?
I didn't really think... Yeah, I know. I didn't really think this through very well, but I'm going to end up with the...
you have Dalton as your... No.
You know,
you need to have
Cleveland Browns starter.
Yeah.
No, it's Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I took Macklin, I should have took Coleman or Britt, so I could have got Flacco here. Exactly. But I got Cleveland's quarterback, whoever that may be. Kessler, will say.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. I think I like your team just a bit better.
Yeah, you're pixelated again, but that's okay. Yeah, you're like getting worse and worse. It's like you literally start and then you're like, I can't see you. You're just a object. So
I don't know. We'll get this figured out for the next one.
All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for our AFC North preview. We thank you for joining us, and we will definitely be back in the next few days with a probably AFC South or AFC West preview, and then we'll get on to the NFC. There you are. All right, Wise Take Nation, everybody on YouTube, we thank you. Put the thumbs up. If you're listening to us on iTunes and Podbean, do the thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And obviously join us for the daily Wise Take podcast on YouTube, talking baseball tonight with me and Slim Gady. For Paulie D, I am Patio Joe, and we are out. Peace. Yeah.